Again? Emily looked at her mother, with a somewhat sad emotion on her face. Mom, it's the 5th time that we are moving to a new city. Her mother sighed and patted Emily's shoulders. Sweetie, you know how hard it is to find good work and get enough money to pay for clothes, food, a house, furniture. Even if your father is not with us anymore, we still have to be strong and find our place. It may be tough, but you will find friends there. I think you're alright, but I don't think that I will find friends. It's just, everyone hates me. Emily started to sob and looked away from the worried mother. It is true. She wasn't really what you would call a social butterfly. Emily, don't cry. Mommy promises everything will be alright. Her mother hugged her and tried to comfort her now crying daughter. Eventually, Emily stopped sobbing and hugged her mother back. Here we are, darling. It's our new home. Mother smiled at her child and showed her daughter how the new house looked from the outside. I know it's not perfect and kind of old, but no worries. We're going to fix everything, and the house will look amazing. Emily smiled and kissed her mother's cheek. I know, Mommy. The most important thing is that we're going to be together, right? Yes, only us. Now let's go inside and unpack our stuff. Playfully grabbing her daughter's hand, she ran into the house. Emily entered her huge new room. It was old, everything was old. The bed, closet, and lamp. Although everything wasn't perfect, she was only hoping to find new friends at school, and tomorrow was Monday, so she had to be ready for the big day. She was pretty tired after traveling to the new house, so she decided to go to sleep much earlier. She got into bed and turned off all the lights and fell asleep. Emily woke up in the middle of the night, hearing a strange sound that was in her room. It was like scratching. Huh? Who's there? She sighed and felt fear creep through her body. She hid under her blankets, but she still heard all those weird scratching sounds. Maybe it's a cat, Emily thought to herself. Then she paused thoughtfully. But how did it get in here? She stood up from the bed and felt brave enough to find out who was there. She started to hear those scratches again, but she knew it was just some kind of animal. She started to search for the animal, and she heard that the scratching was coming right from the closet. She shivered as slowly started to open it. Huh? Emily was pretty surprised that she saw nothing, but she knew that closet was pretty big, so she walked inside to find what could have been making that sound. As she walked in, she felt that something was breathing in her neck. She felt the biggest fear well up from deep inside of her. She just closed her eyes and started to breathe slowly. She felt that someone scratched her hand. She felt such a pain she started, as fast as she could, to run out of the closet. But she heard a voice that sounded like a male teenager voice. Where do you think you're going? The scratcher asked with a sinister, eerie voice. Emily could feel how he jumped on her and pinned her to the floor when she saw him, thanks to the light streaming in from the window, that she noticed that he looked like, which was oddly enchanting. The first thing that she saw was his bright blue eyes. It was like they were glowing in the dark. He wore a dark gray mask and he had light gray skin. When she looked closer, she saw that he had brown hair with dyed red tips, and then the blood that trickled out from his eyes. She could see how he was dressed because of darkness. She gulped as his eyes met hers. He just chuckled, and then she saw his arm. He had a glove on it. His nails were so long that she would never have imagined that someone could have such long nails. They were like Freddy Krueger claws. She realized that it was with those claws that he made that bleeding scratch on her arm. She started to scream for help, but the boy just chuckled. Hey, wanna know what's soon gonna blood you over the room? The killer smiled widely. She felt that his claws were pretty close to her chest, and that she would die soon, but she couldn't control myself. She had to ask him the overwhelming question many ask in horror movies. Who are you? She gulped and just waited for an answer. She saw how his eyes looked into her side, right into her face. Oh, so you wanna know, huh? The killer chuckled. Let's just say, your nightmare. Emily breathed heavily, hoping he'll let her off for not kicking him off, but then she heard her mother's voice from the hallway. I'm home, sweetie. The boy stood up as fast as he could and pushed her to the wall and jumped from the window. Emily was elated, and as her mother came into the room, she could be seen with blood on her hands. Emily, what's wrong with your hand? She gasped and started to help her get up. How did this happen, darling? She asked her again, but she felt so tired and couldn't say anything, so she just closed her eyes and fell asleep. She woke in the morning seeing my doctor and my mother talking. She heard the talk about the deep wound on my hands and how I had to miss school for a week. Her mom saw that she was awake and she hugged her as fast as she could. Emily, tell us, how did you get this wound? Emily didn't know how to tell her everything, as she was afraid that the killer would find out and kill her. So she said, Mommy, you know how bad at cooking I am, right? You're not that bad, sweetie. Do you mean to say that you got this wound by cooking? My mom sighed and stared deep into my blue eyes. Yes, Mommy, she said. Well, the wound is still very deep, and I just can't imagine how a child could cause such damage in the kitchen. But that means that you have to stay home for a whole week, Emily. The doctor told her, left her room, and left the house. Emily knew that he would come back, and that she was actually ready for his visit. Maybe it was good staying at home. Maybe Skroll was hoping to kill her after school. She was just in a big thought about her death, and about that weird Neko boy the whole day. Maybe it was just a dream, and maybe she was sleepwalking or something, and she made a wound by herself. It was pretty late, and her mom came into her room, kissed her cheek, and wished her good dreams. She turned off all the lights in her daughter's room, but her daughter felt that he was coming. She did not know how, but she was just feeling it. Maybe he wouldn't come, but she couldn't just fall asleep like that. She tried not to sleep, but she couldn't control her sleepy eyes and fell asleep again. She slowly opened her eyes and felt a cold breeze. Looking around her room, she saw that her window was, for some reason, open. Then she remembered the boy. Oh no, he's here. But where is he? She slowly started to open the closet doors, but he wasn't there. She actually felt so nervous. Maybe he killed her mother, or even worse. Emily knew that he had to be somewhere. She ran to the hallway. Mom, Mom, she shouted, but no response. Emily knew that something was wrong. Her mom always responded, even in the middle of the night. Before getting into her mother's room, she called the police and told them everything about the Skroll. They told me that it's not the first time that he has broken into a house and killed people. They promised me that they'll come as fast as they can. They told her not to enter her mother's room, but she couldn't resist. Maybe everything was alright. Maybe her mom was just in a deep sleep, and she was the one who opened the window. But Emily knew that he was here. She could feel it. She ran towards her mom's room and slowly opened the door. What she saw was the most horrible thing she had ever seen. She saw him, but the small light in her mom's room helped her see how he looked exactly. She realized that he wore a dark gray hoodie and black pants and shoes, and he was eating meat. Then she saw her mom's bloody dead body. Her body was completely scratched, and Emily could see her organs. Emily realized that Skroll was eating her flesh. He was a cannibal. She started to scream. Then he saw her, and our eyes met again. And she heard what he had said. "I love to play with my food." He chuckled. Then he hissed and showed his sharp, long claws. Emily gasped and saw how he was coming towards her. She closed the door as fast as she could. She could remember that she had all the keys for every door in the house. She took the keys from her pocket and locked the door pretty fast. Here he kicked at the door. Emily started to cry as she watched how his hands made a big hole in the door. She started to run into the yard, and as she went outside, she saw that the police were already there. She felt a big smile flood across her face. As they saw her, they took her to the car and entered the house. Emily waited for them for about 23 minutes, but they were gone. She lost all hope that she was going to stay alive that day. But she saw that someone was running from the house. That was the policeman, and he was all alone. As fast as he could, he ran into the car. "He killed them all! We have to hurry! He is coming!" The policeman shouted and started to drive the car. Emily turned back and saw him. She saw Skroll standing in her room and smiling at her from the window. She saw that at her window were words. It was pretty hard to see, but the words were written with blood. That was fun, wasn't it? As the policeman drove as fast as he could away from her home, she knew that she'll never forget that smile and those words. That was fun, wasn't it? She knew that he would come back, and she would be as far away from this place. He always knows where you are.